Hey, welcome back everyone, Rob here. So in today's video I'm drawing Darkseid for you, and I'm using a Labs tablet. This is the time-lapse out of Clip Studio Paint. So I'm going to draw and ink it, and hopefully you gain some little insights along the way. What I wanted to point out with this one is that you can see it changes dramatically, especially from this stage. So at first I start with a kind of perspective structured head. I add in some features, but the head immediately looked too elongated to be Darkseid. Sorry, I always struggle with the name. I want to say Darkseid for some reason. But so then as I get to this third interval transition, you see I'm changing it quite a bit, and I'm trying to widen out the head. I still use the same structure for perspective and alignment of the features in a sense and all that, but it needed to be dramatically shifted. Also, I'm trying to add in the features to look a bit more organic. So obviously with a very structured approach, you gotta be careful that you don't leave in too many of those angles, or depending on what your style is, you play around with that balance. And then here adding in some shadows. And this is really where I start to get a better feeling of the character, and I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to ink, or in this case digital inks. I think I already mentioned I'm using Clip Studio, Labs tablet. By the way, on the Labs tablet aspect, I'll zoom up here in a bit so you can see the inks better. I'm actually finally starting to feel more comfortable with the ink the line. So I've been working on that a lot lately. I haven't shown as much of the work, but I've been steadily working hard at making the transition. I just don't want to buy another Cintiq, and I really do feel like this tablet is suitable. It's fine. It just takes longer. It took me a long time to feel comfortable with this. But one of the things I'm thinking about here is blocking in like bigger pools of shapes of shadows, and this applies to any method, by the way. It's not this tablet, it's not that tablet, it's not that pen, this pen, that paper, it's whatever. But one of the techniques I like about thinking this way, it really helps me cut into the work. So I drop in shapes of shadows, and then I try to play around with the variation of finer details that and with a character like this, he's got all these, he's got this cracked skin, right? Dude needs some moisturizer. But I can play around with how I cut into those little details and really get a feeling of scale, of depth, of areas of interest. That's why I like characters like this, where they have a lot of grit, and also where they have a variation from something like the shiny suit to the gritty skin. I love that because it gives me more opportunity to play around with the different textures. And again, just get in there and noodle around and have some fun. I've also been paying a lot of attention to, I always do, but I've been looking at some of Todd McFarlane's quick sketch videos, and it's so neat how he just jumps in with ink, but he cuts into it. I think it's really neat how he cuts back and forth into the work. He has layers. Yeah, you got to watch his stuff. I'm sure you probably already do, but check him out. It's great food for thought in the way that it allows you to think like almost that you're never stuck with this stuff. That's a big thing. You're never stuck. You could see the transition, and this is why I love sharing the step-by-steps. You can see how bad it started off, and I think in a lot of these, I almost give up. Like a lot of times, really sad. But I always remember, like, no, wait a second. If I give it a little more love, get a little more rework in there, maybe I can cut into it some different ways, change some shapes, and it's like problem solving. And then by the end of it, on the ones that you do make it to the end, you're like, oh wow, glad I kind of kept the faith there and kept going, chugging along. So, but what I like about watching somebody like his work is that you can tell he's done that so many times that it's just second nature. There's not a whole lot of, if any, worry entangled into that process anymore. Same thing with David Finch when he does his. Just masterful to watch, and you tell they're just having more fun. But I think it takes developing things in a certain way, finding your process that allows you to stay there. So again, for me lately, it's been like cut in there, get those different shapes of shadows. First, you got to get some good structure going, some ideas going. Again, I felt pretty good by the fourth conceptual rendering, and usually when I add those shadows, that's about almost always when I know, like, okay, yeah, I could see this now. And for rendering, I just have fun with it. I really do. I don't stress out about texturing and cross hatching. Thank goodness. I stress out about other things, but there I usually just have fun with it. To me, that's like, as I've mentioned in other videos, it's like the icing on the cake. You know, it's like when it's all kind of, I put all that hard work in. Now I can just kind of relax and zone out and do some rendering. And that's not always the case. Sometimes I struggle with that as well, but it's a lot less of an issue for me. Almost always that's more of a relaxing stage of the work. But that comes from a lot of years of where I just noodle around on the page. And I have pages and pages that I just probably threw away or stashed somewhere where I just sit around and crosshatch and texturize, and it's not even a thing. Like, I'm not even drawing a character at that point. And also, I do pages and pages of just doodles when I'm doing nothing else. So the other day, I was just drawing like a bunch of faces. I was looking through different comics, and I was just quickly drawing faces out of them and not striving for perfection, but it was like a lot of good mileage. It was a lot of good practice. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. You know I love making this stuff for you. I'd love to know what you think about upcoming content. As always, keep drawing, keep having fun, and I'll talk to you soon.